So, what if I told you that a text written 3,000 years ago holds a practical blueprint for our crazy modern lives? It sounds a little wild, right? Well, today, we're diving deep into Proverbs chapter 3. It's this piece of ancient wisdom that you'll see offers a surprisingly relevant guide to trust, wisdom, and, just how to treat people. Let's get into it.
Right off the bat, the thing that grabs you is the tone. This isn't some dusty, distant lecture from on high. It's written like a letter, an intimate, personal message from a father to his son. And that tone, that personal, guiding voice, it really sets the stage for everything that comes next.
So to really get our heads around this chapter, we're going to break it down into three core ideas, three pillars that the whole thing is built on. First, there's this foundation of radical trust. Then, the pursuit of a kind of wisdom that's priceless. And finally, the day-to-day practice of just being a good person. Let's start with that foundation, with trust.
Okay, this first pillar is, honestly, probably the toughest one for us to swallow today. It's all about a radical kind of trust that asks you to look beyond your own instincts. I mean, we live in an age that's all about self-reliance. You do you, right? So this idea of letting go of control, it feels completely backwards.
The text immediately sets up this central tension. On one side, you have your understanding. That's your logic, your experience, your gut feelings. And on the other side, you have his paths. So it's presenting a fundamental choice. Are you going to try to find your way using your own little map, which only shows a few feet ahead? Or are you going to trust a guide who can see the entire landscape?
So how does this actually work? Well, the author gives us this really clear three-step process. It starts with an all-in commitment, trust with your whole heart. Next, it requires a conscious choice to not rely on just your own point of view. And finally, it's about bringing this guidance into every part of your life. The result that's promised? Not an easy path, necessarily, but a straight one that's direct, clear, and has a real purpose.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. The text ties this trust to some very real-world outcomes. It talks about having favor with people, about physical healing and refreshment. But it also gets very specific about prosperity. We're talking barns filled with plenty and vats overflowing. It's this idea that inner trust leads to this complete holistic flourishing on the outside. All right, let's move on to that second pillar.
So, if trust is the foundation we build on, then wisdom is the actual house. But this isn't wisdom like we usually think of it. It's not just about collecting facts or data. The text presents wisdom as this deep understanding of how to actually live, and it claims that this is the single most valuable thing a person could ever have.
The author makes this almost economic argument. Imagine a giant set of scales. On one side, you pile up the most valuable things from the ancient world, silver, fine gold. On the other side, you just place wisdom. The text says it's not even a contest. The return you get from wisdom is way, way bigger than any material wealth you could ever stack up.
And then it doubles down. It uses the image of rubies, one of the most precious gems imaginable, and says wisdom is worth more than that, too. The claim here is absolute. Think of literally anything you could possibly want. According to this, wisdom is still more valuable.
Then we get this incredible metaphor, wisdom as a tree of life. I mean, just think about that image. It brings to mind vitality, nourishment, strength, something that sustains you and gives you life. So to get a hold of wisdom, in this view, is to grab onto a source of life itself.
And the benefits are incredibly practical. This isn't just about feeling smart, it's about a deep internal security. It's being able to walk through the world with confidence, to sleep well at night, and to not be totally paralyzed by the fear of what might happen tomorrow. Wisdom, from this perspective, is the ultimate source of peace.
Okay, so we've got our foundation of trust and the structure of wisdom, so what? The third and final pillar, it's how all this internal stuff plays out in the real world, and how we deal with the people around us every single day.
The advice here is just so straightforward. It's basically a simple guide to being a good neighbor. If you can help someone now, do it. Don't scheme against the person next door who trusts you, don't make up accusations, and don't look up to the person who gets what they want through violence. The point here is huge. Real wisdom isn't some lofty, complicated idea. It just looks like basic human decency.
Now the text saves its strongest language for one particular type of person, the perverse.
This isn't about someone who just messes up or makes a mistake. No, this is someone who knows the right thing to do, but stubbornly, deliberately chooses to do the exact opposite. And that intentional defiance is singled out as something to avoid at all costs.
So after laying out these pillars of trust, wisdom, and just being decent, the author brings it all home with this powerful conclusion. The whole chapter really boils down to a choice between two very different paths, and each path has its own destination that you just can't avoid.
The principle is about as simple as it gets. You get what you give. The outcomes are a direct result of the kind of person you are. You can see it here. People who mock others just end up getting mocked themselves. But the humble, the righteous, they receive grace and blessing. It's a clear case of cause and effect.
For those who choose that path of wisdom, the ultimate inheritance is honor. And this isn't just about having a good reputation. It's a lasting legacy of integrity and genuine respect.
But, and this is a huge but, for those who reject that wisdom, who the text calls fools, the destiny is the complete opposite: shame. Their choices eventually come to light, and it leads not to honor, but to disgrace. There's really no middle ground presented here.
So we're left with this really powerful final thought. In a world that is constantly telling us to follow your heart or trust your gut, this ancient advice says something radically different. It suggests that the key to finding a straight path is to not lean on our own understanding. And that raises a pretty big question for all of us, doesn't it? When you're looking for direction in your life, where exactly are you pointing your compass?